right, good morning, everybody. We are outside in the garden talking to Dave, the garden guy here, talking about the cold. It is upon us, and it's time to protect our plants.
It is, and what you want to do, and I want to just show off something. I just want to show these off. These are pyracantha and kumquats, folks. Aren't those beautiful? Those come up this time of year. You start seeing this type of color as it starts getting a little bit cooler and possibly frosty cold. And folks, we've talked about it before. There is a chance that some of the lower elevations, these are low areas, and you know who you are, that you might get a little bit of frost. So it's an ideal situation for going ahead and taking advantage of that with a little bit of frost cloth. And this is something that's translucent. You can barely see my hand through that. So it allows enough sunlight to get through so you don't have to take it off every day, unlike sheets or cardboard or anything along those lines. So it holds the heat around the plant itself. You're harvesting that heat around the plant itself. So you want to make sure that something like this gets all the way down to the soil. That way you're harvesting that heat from that thermal mass in the soil itself up around that plant. And this is a real good idea. Around those tomatoes and eggplants, you want to try to extend the season maybe a little bit on your peppers, anything along those lines. And this will be the one thing that will help you get out. Now, bougainvilleas, hibiscus, lantanas, all those asparagus, all those need to be covered, of course.
Okay, now what if you went the cheap route and you've got an old sheet laying around the house, or you cut up a plastic bag?
Okay.
I mean, are these bad ideas?
Yeah, let's talk about both. In fact, let's talk about plastic first. Okay. Scotty, go ahead and go on over to our little greenhouse over there. We closed our area there with a little bit of PVC. Now, if you're using plastic, it cannot, folks, cannot hit the plant. You can build little greenhouses out of it and take advantage of these warm days and frosty nights by going and extending the seasons with this. But as soon as that plastic hits the plant, guess what? Voila, the plant will basically possibly die, but definitely get frost damage on it.
Gotcha.
As for sheets, this is real good, real important. You want to remove these guys on a daily basis as long as we get above the freezing level. And that's most days. I've never known it to stay below the freezing level anyways. Down here in the lower elevations, upper elevations, different story. So what you want to do is just go ahead and put something like this on overnight, possibly with some type of light. And then go ahead and remove it come the following morning. One last caveat, I want to just preface this. Make sure that you go ahead and you're going and turning on that water or having that water come on about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. That's another way to keep that plant material warm, because as water evaporates, as it cools down, it releases heat up into the canopy of the plant and up in the canopy of these sheets or frost blankets.
So just to be clear, you don't have to take the good stuff off.
That's right. You don't have to take this frost blanket off. It will go ahead, and suffice to say, you can leave that on for 3 or 4 days with no problem at all, especially during those long, frosty periods. Now, a couple of other things. I don't know how much time we've got. I want to just preface one other thing. We're getting ready for pruning right now. Scotty, go on down to our asparagus down here, and you can see a little bit of an asparagus patch. Been there about 2 or 3 years. This is something I get constant emails on. What do I do with my asparagus as it's going dormant? And you can see it's starting to turn dormant there, Ryan. And what you want to do is you want to go ahead and start thinking about pruning that back this time of year. And then what you want to do, of course, is you want to go ahead and start thinking about your peaches, plums, pears, and apples. All those are going to start needing to be pruned. So next couple of weeks, we're going to be showing you how to do that.
Do it properly.
Yep, and I understand we got some colors.
We do. We are going to take everybody's calls right now. Francis, good morning. You're up first.
Good morning.
Francis, how are you?
Great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. What can I do for you?
I planted a couple trees about 5 months ago, and I was digging, and I hit a part of the ground that's really hard, and I couldn't break through. So what I did is I went ahead and planted the 3 trees. One didn't make it. The others aren't looking too good. Am I going to have to let them die and then re-dig farther down?
Well, you know, ideally, you want to break through that caliche level, and what it is a very hard area. It could be 1, 2, 3 foot deep. It's very difficult to tell until you start breaking through it. But you need to punch through that as what we call with a chimney. And this is just a small hole, about 6 inches wide, filled with gravel. Punch through it until you get to that softer soil. Ideally, you want to make sure you have well-drained soil. Another way to get around that, it's similar to what we did here at our Channel 3 garden, because our Channel 3 garden is on top of a parking lot. We just built the soil up. So we've got about 3 to 4 feet of soil in some of these areas. 1 to 2 feet is common out here. And what you got is, well, you've got a nice, well, vegetative landscape, as you can see right here on top of our parking lot. So just having hard soil doesn't mean you can't grow. It's a matter of getting the proper drainage. There you go.
All right, thank you. Francis, thank you very much. Chris, you're up next. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Dave. Thank you so much. I have your first
welcome.
2 books. I have The Garden Guy and Extreme Gardening.
Thank
Love
you.
them. Thank you for your genius.
Thank you.
My question is, do you have the Hypertufa on that area where you are right now at Channel 3, or are you going to build one on the air? And one more question, when are you going to get your own show, like hour long?
Well, I had my own. I had my own show about well, it was about 10 years ago or so, and I don't know if they're ever going to bring it back. It's a lot of work just doing this, and I didn't understand her first question. Did you hear her first question? Something about
You wanted him to build
Hypertufa.
Hypertufa?
Hypertufa on page 87 of the Garden Guy. It's with the vermiculite, the perlite. It's a great planter, and we have many of them on the property.
Yeah,
And I was wondering if you are going to do one on the air. If
you know, we've got a couple of them around here. I didn't hear what you said. Yeah, we got a couple of them around here in the garden. You know what? I'll try to do one in the next couple of weeks, especially right at springtime, because we'll show people how to do that. And it's kind of more of a hydroponic kind of mixture of dirt and all real light soil mix, and it's a great way to go out here in the desert Southwest. And one thing that you want to keep in mind, when you're doing that, you got to make sure you change that water, because the water gets very salty out here, and it's very important when you're growing things in pots to leach it out. I think we got one last caller here.
Yes, Lynn, good morning. You're our last caller this morning.
Yes, good morning. Earlier this week that you were talking about hibiscus plants, and you were saying you could get them for about 99 cents, but you never said exactly where you could pick these up.
That wasn't hibiscus, that was poinsettias, and they were on sale. They were at the Home Depot. There's one right there. I don't know if they still have them or
99
not.
cents?
99 cents is what I paid for that earlier. And one thing about the poinsettias, since we're in it on this note, is that you want to go ahead and make sure you protect those folks. They are not resistant to any type of frost damage. So move them inside if we get those cold nights.
Anything to prolong their life?
You know what? My mom just plants them. She
Really?
just plants them in a pot and treats them just like a house plant, and they work out fantastic. So there you go. We've planted them out here in the garden. We get so cold, it's very difficult. But there are folks here in town that have planted them in their landscapes and done fabulous with them. So there you go. You can go ahead and plant virtually anything here in the desert Southwest.
Dave, thank you very much for joining us
you.
again here, and all your wonderful advice on planting.